She's going to want space, separation, angry, fear, push against you, disagree with you, rewrite history. Okay. But if she's in friendly mode and she's just in this status quo friendly mode, she's going to be courteous, nice. You can chat, you can have coffee. Okay. But that's friend mode. That does not mean you're in status quo in marriage or intimacy. And it certainly doesn't mean you're up here in the heart zone of like, oh, things are going better. This just means she's in status quo, friendly, chatting, having coffee with you mode. And what most men misconstrue is they think when things get better and she's not as mad is because you're up here in this heart and marriage mode, but you're not. You're just in this status quo friendly kind of mode. There's some men that have reached out recently. Men reach out all the time, every week, every month. And here's one quick example. In the next 6 months, what changes do you most want to see in your life? Rejuvenating my marriage, have my wife look and talk to me like she did when we were first married. God being a combining force in our marriage rather than a dividing wedge. What do you see as your biggest barriers? My wife's temperament and openness to growth and romantic renewal, right? So many men begin this journey by saying, if she were just to come around, if she were just to see this from my point of view, if she were just to work on herself, right? And we learn this is mostly a path for us. Unless here's another one. This man's on this call right now, actually. This man says, in the immediate term, I would like my wife to be patient and rediscover that she can trust me and that I'm not the same man from years ago that will hurt her emotionally again. Everything she's saying now leads me to believe she's done. And he says, what's the barrier? I'm not certain I would call it a barrier. I recognize that I can't change my wife's view of me and that she will either move forward with divorcing me or will remain in a limbo marriage. She is, in one sense, the barrier to allowing me to regain her trust. So, there again, it's the, well, how can I help her turn around? How can I help her trust me again? Which is the first step. Her view of me does not stop me from moving forward and bettering myself. So, in a broader sense, then she's not a barrier. Yeah. So let's talk about this today. Good pressure versus bad pressure. Loving and being loved is an art. It's a science and an art, and we all want to feel connected. Last time, if you're watching this on YouTube, if you want to go check out our other videos, the last one was Wife Isn't Seeing My Changes, even after I'm fixing myself. And today, good pressure versus bad pressure over the holidays. So, Cynthia, let's start with good pressure versus bad pressure. And this idea that relationship itself inherently has pressure. Relationship just in and of itself is going to have this demand, let's say, this unconscious, unspoken demand. And is that bad? Is that good or bad? What does good pressure versus bad pressure mean to you, especially when she's wanting more space?
Yeah. Yes, do relationships have pressure in them? And yes, is it normal for the woman in your life to feel pressure within a polarized relationship? Yeah, because that's how we all grow and change. So there is absolutely good pressure for her. I would say it's the pressure that brings breath back into her body, that brings life energy back into her, that allows her to feel awake again. And then, the opposite of that is it the pressure that, time and time again has her digging deep into the earth and going even more asleep into herself. And I know there's a fine, very fine line in that. Uh, but everything I want for a woman, for the feminine, is to feel like the water of the relationship inviting her to find more oxygen.
So pressure that makes her dive deep, what was it? Buried deep into the earth. Say more about that. How do you mean?
Yeah, so there's where the fine line is because I absolutely believe that you in your masculine heart and masculine frame uh, can invite a woman out of like her self-imposed, burial. And knowing when that's the time and when it's not is has so much finesse to it. I would say bad pressure really runs the line of, is she using this expectation to be even harder on herself? Is she going into old, like even childhood patterns that she really doesn't have the skill to get out of her on her own? And is it making her dissolve herself versus finding who she is more, finding more of her own energy inside of herself?
Mm. How's this really ringing in the relationship? Yeah. So, what men are feeling this pressure over the holidays? Do me a favor, punch a one into the chat, ask a question in the chat, raise your hand here. Let's go ahead and step forward. We always like to propose some research. And so this is from Michelle Davis, who has a TED Talk on YouTube. I think it's about 12 or 13 years old now. Very, very famous. The Walkaway Wife TED Talk. And she talks about sex and divorce. And she's got an article here from, it's actually from 2008, The Walkaway Wife. Key points. One of the biggest reasons women leave their husband is that the marriage has taken a backseat to other commitments. So the intimacy, the level three connection that Cynthia and I teach and talk about has taken a backseat to other things. And often this happens without us knowing it. The second bullet, women who are unhappy in their marriages often don't realize that nagging their spouse backfires. Now, many women don't nag, actually. Many women of the men that we work with have kind of quietly gone astray or aside, or they've collapsed in on themselves, or they're angry about life and blaming. So I don't know if nagging is something that all the men that we work with see. And the third point, men often genuinely change after divorce, make a great second husband. There's a man that posted yesterday on the forum, their post-divorce. He said, I knew this was going to happen. She circled back around. I've already moved on. We've sold everything. I sold my house. And now 6 months later, I think it is, she's asking me to come back. And I've already started to move on. There's another woman that I'm involved with now. And I hate that I was right, that she was going to circle back around. And in the last 24 hours, there's something like 15 comments. And my favorite one was along the lines of, you're out of her league now,
Mm.
right? Another guy said, I have some oceanfront property to sell you in Arizona. It's like she's trying to sell this now. So what's that about? What do you think that's about in general? Where men that work with us, point number three, often genuinely change, but she doesn't want to see that in this moment. She thinks everything is bad pressure in this moment. What do you see there?
Yeah, so, and I felt just kind of an ache as you were asking the question because I ache for her and in the reality that she encounters. Uh, I think in that situation, a woman can get so stuck and be so unwilling to have any self-responsibility that when you take your very broad and powerful energy away from that dynamic, not only you take it away so she doesn't have it to kind of poke against or push against, and then you've officially moved on, there's just a reality that I think a lot of women catches them off guard when you officially move on. Uh, and then there also can be like oh no, that energy was mine. You and your masculine frame are mine. So she doesn't want to have to share you with the world. She feels all of a sudden that your warrior eye is taken away from her, and you're a vibration and energy now that she really wants.
So part of this work and the pressure we're talking about is, okay, so Jeff and Cynthia, should I just leave and give her the space that she's wanting so she can see how much she misses me? Well, no, we have to do this in stages, right? And just throwing in the towel, bailing, moving out, it's not a way to do this. It's like pulling the eject and flying out of the airplane. So a man in there in the chat and a man raised his hand. Yeah, George, coming in, please.
Yeah. Hey, Jeff. Hey, Cynthia. So yeah, thanks for having this. I met with Jeff yesterday, and the biggest issue I'm facing, particularly for the holidays, is the idea that we met with a financial mediator yesterday. And I was telling Jeff that I could sense my wife now really seeing the, fiscal financial reality of the idea that the steps are being taken towards divorce. And she's never just plainly come out and said, yes, we're going to do this and I'm going to file and we're done. it's kind of like this separation, meandering around back and forth that's going nowhere. I've decided I'm not going to move out, but Jeff was pointing out that at some point within the week, I have to tell her that there's been a change in plans. And in fact, I'm not going to move out. We have to give security to have that pressure off that she's going to be financially okay. Although I noticed she responded to the financial mediator saying yesterday, okay, thank you. We will discuss and I'll get back to you. So I'm going to wait for her at this point rather than put any pressure and come to her and say, hey, by the way, I'll wait for her to come to me. My plan is to wait for her to come to me to say, hey, what are our next steps? And at that point, tell her, yeah, by the way, based on what our discussion was yesterday, I can't move out because we need to be together to plan this. And I want to give you that sense of safety and security about the fact that we're going to be okay. You'll be okay. And we can work on this together. But I'm really in kind of a knot as to how to raise that, how to bring it up. I think the points are well taken. I mean, my wife has not nagged. She's precipitously collapsed on herself since September and even more in October. She's not nagging, but she's spiraling with this. I need to lay the groundwork for divorce, but we need to separate and you need to move out. But no, we can do a nesting arrangement. It's just gone
Yeah, George,
around.
so let me jump in. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Go ahead and think
Yeah.
of a
Sorry.
you're good. So go ahead and think of a specific question around pressure. You've changed your mind. Let's just call it that. You've changed your mind in that you're not moving out. And a big piece of that is because of the feedback you've gotten from the financial mediator. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. And the lawyer that I had spoken to before that. So that's all consistent.
Okay. And your concern is what? That she's going to have some kind of fear response or overreaction or something?
Yeah, because her real need is for physical separation. And she's come up with, I think she was really scared by the idea that we actually need to work together for several weeks during an emotionally charged time on how assets are going to be separated. And yet, what she really wants is physical space.
Okay, so what she wants is physical space, not
Yeah.
she doesn't need physical space necessarily. Is that
Well, that's
right?
hard to say, want versus need. I think she actually needs it, but
Well, you just said both of those within two sentences. So what do you think is a want versus a need with this for her?
I think yeah, you're right. Want versus need. The physical space, either way, I mean, I guess, yes, you're right. It's important to classify it correctly, whether want or need. Either way, it's for her to be able to find herself and be clear of me to take that, as you said, fresh, just even the idea that I'm in the same space creates relationship, which creates pressure. She wants that pressure of my physical presence out so that she
Okay.
can have clarity. Yeah.
So what would you say right there is the question that you can ask Cynthia in this moment?
Um, the question is, how do I approach her to let her know that the physical space isn't going to be a reality while we work on the bigger issue of her need for financial security?
It's a good question. Yeah. Okay. Let's
Yeah.
start there. Yeah, please.
Thank you, George, for that question. I'm feeling pulled to say that sometimes a woman's like pushing against something so hard, or she's so afraid to feel something, uh, when it's kind of this like in the shadows, like, oh, we don't want her to feel pressure. We don't want to feel pressure of the physical space. So even saying, hey, I know we're working on this together. I know this might make you feel like you're in the physical pressure of this. I just want to let you know, like, I really appreciate you sharing that with me. Here's where I'm at on that. And I honor how this feels in you. So you're not taking away her reaction to it or her real experience, but it's less shadowy to her and less bad and less like this monster like in the closet.
Well, so let me jump in there. Her anxiety is a monster in the closet. She's going
Mm.
to say, "You're not listening to." So what I've talked to George, she's going to I'm going to just press pause on you, George, for sake of sound. She's going to up the ante, get pissed off, and push, and especially when he says, "Hey, I hear you," he's kind of like tried that first or second
Mm.
level thing. So now she's going to be pissed and say, "You're not hearing me." So how can George think about what needs versus wants here as far as pressure when that's happening? The anxiety for her is already a monster.
Hmm. George, what do you imagine doing if all of a sudden the anxiety monster's coming out in that exact moment?
So go ahead and unmute yourself, George. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've failed already once because when this issue was proposed, file for divorce immediately or you move out for 6 months, I said, well, that's surprising. I wasn't intending to move out. She then came back and said, okay, well, I agree with you. You need to be here for the boys so we can do a nesting arrangement. And I kind of sort of said, okay, well, that was an improvement. I recognized that was really hard. She was pissed off about doing that. So what do I imagine now is, yeah, she's going to say, well, why can't you move out while we still work together online on divvying up assets? There'll be some way to, because it's already quite a bit for her, this need for physical space. I mean, she voiced that as much to the financial mediator. Financial mediator is like, okay, we're going to do this. Well, what I know now is we need physical space.
Yeah. What do you imagine, let's say her want to have you not in close proximity? What do you imagine her getting to experience?
Well, I think Jeff hit the nail on the head yesterday when he said she doesn't know herself. She doesn't know herself outside of the context of our 28-year marriage and 30-year relationship. She doesn't know herself anymore.
Yeah, she's flailing. She's
Yeah.
asking, she's just trying to push him away because she thinks that's going to make her feel better, which in the short term it will. But it doesn't actually help anything that's going on. It doesn't help her feeling of insecurity about money or the structure of their family. They've got two teenage boys. He doesn't want to move out.
Mm-hmm.
He says like you can
No.
see. So basically he wants to say, I'm not moving out.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to work on this financial plan for the next 3 months. Let's work through this with the mediator and then let's look at this again.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what's the concern there that she's going to freak out,
Yeah.
George?
Yeah. Pretty much.
So what's
It's
your
it's yeah.
how can George think about her freak out?
Mm-hmm.
Because she's going to freak out. So how can he think about that in terms of pressure?
Yeah, I mean, every part of me just wants to be like, okay, so you freak out.
Yeah, and she's not a an evident freak out. She'll keep it all bottled up inside. I mean, I can tolerate the fact that she knows how to divide herself up. She'll isolate herself, but then she'll come down, have a very nice, pleasant conversation, like it's old times. It feels like that a lot of the time. I don't know how she does it. And I noticed after yesterday's meeting, there's just ever so slightly this shift to being a bit softer with me, maybe because
Mm.
I don't know what's going on in her head. I can't predict anything anymore. It's exhausting.
Well, what hits me, George, is your energy, which is very solid and calm. And it reminds me again of what I was really originally feeling like. I feel like there's a monster in the closet. The fact that you're just present with her anxiety monster coming out
Yeah.
and you have compassion and empathy.
Well, well, it wasn't always that way. I have failed many times, and now, despite the fact that I'm better, I don't. She doesn't believe or trust it. So, the damage has been done, unfortunately.
The thing you said about, and then she brought herself down and was a little softer. To me, I feel like the closet door has cracked a little.
Mm,
And
I don't believe it because I've seen this before. She can
oh,
cycle, right? She can. It's
Well,
like,
that's okay.
oh yeah,
Yeah, so the next phase of all of this is to work on that, which you and I are working one on one, but we want to cross one bridge at a time. And the
yeah.
question right this moment is, okay, how do I tell her over the next 2, 3 months? You just tell her. And when as Cynthia was just highlighting, when your wife comes down a little bit, she starts to act more connecting and soft. That's a good sign. Yeah, she's got turmoil on the inside, which that's a long-term project for her, but you're trying to lead the relationship. So it sounds like simple, calm as you are now, direct, and then as the chat was saying, you're the rock, she's the water splashing against the rock, and that's okay.
One thing I have noticed so much with either women I work with or even my own self is, let's say your woman has all this history of like you didn't react well to her anxiety monster
Mm,
all this time,
mm.
and she's not going to believe you for months and months and months and months and months. But the fact that you are just in your grounding as a man and that calmness that you are now, she actually will feel that on some level. And I say that has a healing effect on her because you're not scared by the monster. Is learning through your body. She doesn't have to be scared of her own monster. And I don't know if you're going to see great results of that in 6 months. I don't know if 6 years you run into her again and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, that really made a difference. But how you are holding yourself now, despite the past, is huge and enormous and is an amazing gift to her.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Good to see you, George. Yeah, Tyler, come on in. That's good, George. Love you guys in the chat too. Keep it up. Yeah, Tyler, please.
So just kind of tagging on to what was just being discussed with the pressure and the physical, like actually physically removing yourself. I know when we talked Sunday, you were telling me about not opening the parachute and ejecting myself from the airplane. Um, so I guess my question, just to go straight to the question, we have like a spare bedroom upstairs. And I think for me to stay in the house and alleviate a lot of the physical pressure, maybe would it be intelligent for me to kind of move into the bedroom upstairs and give her, the downstairs of the house. And then the second part of the question I wanted to ask, met with my attorney yesterday, had my consultation the first time that I'd done that. And I know she knows I met with my attorney because through a conversation last week, I told her that I was doing that, as we were discussing the agreement she left for me. And would it be smart of me? I'm just trying to kind of sit back and wait for her to bring it up, because I don't, you guys all, I don't want to do this. So is that the right approach on those two fronts? Try to make it shorter. My question.
Sure. Well, let's open the can of worms. Those are great questions. Let's open the can of worms. Should you move out of the bedroom into another bedroom? Well, here's what I want you to think about and write about and journal about.
Well, okay, I'm just real quick to correct that. I'm not in a bedroom. I've been on the couch in the living room. So I've kind of like taken over the living room.
So you're saying make the living room your bedroom? What? I'm not sure what you mean.
No, that's where I've been. That's where I've been. Like I've been sleeping on the couch for
So
the
where
last
would you
6
go?
months.
What would change?
I would move upstairs into the spare bedroom. Like totally. It's got a bathroom in it. It's almost would be like I'd give her the downstairs of the house, and I would take myself upstairs.
So why aren't you in that bedroom anyway already?
Oh, well, you got to ask the tough questions.
It's like, I mean, you'd rather sleep on the. It's been a while, right? It's been like weeks.
No, it's been weeks. It's been months. It's almost 6 months that I've been on the couch. I felt like it was permanent if I went and moved myself in a bedroom. So it was like this message I was trying to send, saying that I'm not accepting where things are, which is terrible whenever I hear myself say that.
I see. Okay. So here's what I want you to do. There's no perfect answer. We're not here just to give you the perfect answers to how to do it. But here's what I want you to consider, right? There's you, there's her, and there's the marriage. And I want you to write pros and cons, so to speak. What are the benefits for you? What are the benefits for her? And what are the benefits or cons for the marriage for this choice? So if I go move up into the spare bedroom with the bathroom and everything, what are the benefits for you? Well, I would expect a lot more comfortable, your own space. Well, what's the fear? What's the con? Well, it looks kind of permanent. Am I conceding something? What are the benefits for her? What are the benefits and cons for your marriage? So write those things out. And then, part of this, guys, is what do we want and what do we fear? And when you ask that question, it doesn't seem quite clear. What do you want? What does she want? And what does the marriage want? And what do you fear? What does she fear? What does the marriage fear? So delineate that within some writing. Okay. And then let's step forward. The other one was, should you talk with her about you seeing the attorney? Is that the question?
So when we spoke last week, it was basically left at, I don't agree with anything in the separation paperwork. And until I have spoken with an attorney and learned some, just the process and how all this goes, I don't want to discuss it any further. So now I've met with the attorney. I have some clarity around custody and my what I'm going to be paying her and things of that nature. What happens with the house? So like I'm prepared to have the conversation now, but I don't want us to separate and to go down that road. I want to stay in the house as long as possible to give us, like we talked about Sunday, for me to continue to grow under the pressure that I'm under. And I don't want to do it, I don't want to
Right.
separate.
Yeah, I
Give us
understand.
time to heal.
I get it. I just want to, so you want to talk with her about what you've learned. You want to lead. You want to discuss things, but you fear that this is the beginning of the end. You fear what she's going to say. Add on to that for us.
Yeah, I feel like if we come to an agreement with custody and the house and everything, that kind of starts the process of me going and finding a house. And so that's definitely a fear, because that would, in my mind, the longer I can just hold on and us just kind of live the way we're living right now, the longer, the more opportunity I have to stay and for her to heal and start to trust me again as I'm, all the growth that I've had.
Right. So let's say if I flip the coin over and you just don't bring anything up with her ever, basically, you just let her bring everything up. What do you think that would help? Why do you think that would, what good would come of that?
I mean, I don't think there's a lot of good that would come of that. I just think the track record so far has been, it's not going to get brought up unless I bring it up. I mean, there's been in this whole time, there's only been one time where she initiated the conversation, and that was the morning she left the separation papers in the kitchen.
Okay,
Besides that,
yeah. So if you didn't
any other
initiate,
conversations on me.
right, okay. So if you didn't initiate any kind of conversation, you'd basically just you got separation papers. That's what's already happened. And you would imagine if
Correct.
you didn't bring anything up ongoing, that you would just eventually get divorce papers. What do you think would happen if you just didn't bring anything up?
Well, we can't. I mean, in our state, we have to be legally separated for a year before we can divorce.
So you're now legally
So I
separated,
don't.
right?
No, I didn't sign the paperwork. No,
Well,
I
okay,
didn't
so
agree
what
to the
happens
paper.
if you do nothing? I'm trying to understand. What
No,
do you
yeah,
think is going to
nothing,
happen? Right.
nothing right now.
She'll
I
just
think
have
if
to
I
live
do,
with you forever if you do nothing?
I don't know. I don't think that's reasonable. That's not, and I don't want to do this forever, but I just think it delays a little longer for me to stay in the house and be with my kids more. And then again, to give us a chance to maybe work on things.
Give you a chance to work on things just because you're not helping, you're dragging your feet as much possible. You're throwing the anchor overboard so that it just drags on the ground as much as possible. That's what's going to give you more time. Is that what you're saying?
Man, you make it sound bad, but yeah, I mean, I guess
I'm
so.
just trying to
Yeah,
clarify for
yeah,
you what you think is going to
yeah.
happen. Okay, yeah.
I guess that's part of my question
Okay.
is that, you know, um,
Good.
and this, there are times where we discuss and talk and things seem like it's weird, like, whoa, this is kind of normal. And that's happened a lot more recently, the last like week and a half, 2 weeks. Um, and then there's other times where that doesn't happen at all. So it's like, I mean, there's small progressions, I don't know if that's the right way to explain it, but there's progression here and there. But then there's also times where it's right back to how it was 2 or 3 months ago. She's nasty, and then she'll be pleasant and friendly, and then she's nasty. And so I feel
Yeah,
like the
okay.
longer that we just stay in this zone and give her time to process whatever is going on inside of her, and then I have time to continue to grow and work on me, maybe things get better.
Yeah, okay. I
I guess that's my.
understand. Good. So let's do this. Let's pause for a second. I want to draw something similar to what I drew you a couple of days ago, and then we're definitely going to go over to Cynthia. Okay, but I want to
All
make a
right.
point.
All right.
I want to make a point with a drawing real fast. So I'll press mute on you for the moment. Okay. So let me draw two spectrums here. Okay. The one on the top, I'll put an M for marriage, and the one on the bottom, I'll put an F for friends, like friendly, family. Because we've talked about this many times, right? Being in a marriage and being intimate is different to her than being friends and family time. Most women are happy to just do friends and pretend and do family time and, talk, but that doesn't mean that they want more intimacy with you. It's kind of like you're being friend zoned. You're a friend. Okay, so then let me make a point. If you're This is similar to what I drew Tyler a couple days ago, but a little bit different. Okay. Let's say the big X is you're in the doghouse. So if you're in the doghouse when you're married, or if you're in the doghouse when you're friends, or let's say that the heart, I'm going to draw an orange heart here toward the top. Okay. Let's say if things are going great when you're married, or they're going great when you're friends. And in the middle is just kind of this status quo. This is how I drew it for Tyler. Just kind of the status quo, like median whatever. Now, if she's feeling like she's married to you and she hates what's going on, she's going to want space, separation, angry, fear, push against you, disagree with you, rewrite history, okay? But if she's in friendly mode and she's just in this status quo friendly mode, she's going to be courteous, nice. You can chat, you can have coffee, okay? But that's friend mode. That does not mean you're in status quo in marriage or intimacy. And it certainly doesn't mean you're up here in the heart zone of like, oh, things are going better. This just means she's in status quo, friendly, chatting, having coffee with you mode. And what most men misconstrue is they think when things get better and she's not as mad is because you're up here in this heart and marriage mode, but you're not. You're just in this status quo friendly kind of mode. Now, if she's been pushing and pissed and shaming you and blaming you and saying she wants space, and you give her some space, and you lead yourself into the other bedroom because why the fuck would you want to still be on the couch? How about we go like get a comfortable bed in the bathroom and respect ourselves a little bit and not be in the middle of the living room if you don't have to. So let's start respecting ourselves. And you led to learn about divorce. You are leading now. And so, since you're leading, she actually comes to more of a middling kind of a road or more of a agreeable friendship kind of mode when you start to lead the marriage, even if you don't like where it's going, meaning learning about divorce, talking about separation and finances and kids, and leading the marriage out of this clusterfuck basically into some kind of middling, understandable place for yourself. Okay. So just because things are better doesn't mean you're up in here in the heart mode. It means it's just friendly. So that was a lot of me talking, Cynthia. What's your perspective there? Take us from there, because what are you seeing when a man says, well, things are kind of just better. So if I throw the anchor overboard and just drag this out as long as possible, if I don't talk about marriage, if I just close my eyes, maybe it'll go away and she'll just have enough time while the anchor drags on the bottom. I'm just buying time. I'm buying time. So
Mhm.
what's the energy of I'm just buying time versus, hey, I'm slowly leading the relationship, even if I don't like the current direction. What's the difference in energy there?
Yeah, if I go back to the feeling of pressure, uh, the kind of biding time, dragging the anchor, actually, I feel pressure in my chest. I feel really like a lot of stress and strain that she might be experiencing in her body because there's expectation behind your purposeful movement as a man, your purposeful energy. Uh, Whereas the leading in a different way, like leading in, the sanctity of your own space, how you choose it to be, like, okay, here's the process of, we're putting these things into place for with divorce. I feel more release of that like stress and more of a curiosity, and I actually feel the weight of you, Tyler, the pillar that you are, the magnetizing force that you are. And I don't know if your wife, you would see immediate results of her feeling the difference of that, but one feels like I want to push away from it, and the other energy feels like you are the force that's drawing towards you, regardless of her actions or not.
So Tyler, unmute yourself and come on in, please.
Yeah, I hear all that. I hear all that. I know the friendliness and the little glimpses of things being normal don't mean the relationship is okay. I know we're still stuck in purgatory. Um, it's just, you know, being the one to lead it. Just that's not. I mean, I don't know. That's not what I want to do.
Right. So
I get it. I get it, and I'm capable. And I deep down inside, I know that's what I'm supposed to do. I just, that's
well,
just not
yeah.
kind
So
of where I want
here's
to go.
exactly. So let me jump in for sake of time, and then we got to move forward for time here. So your next question is, well, does leading it mean that I strive forward and I say that I want this? No. To answer your question of how to talk about the attorney, you say, "Hey, I spoke with the attorney yesterday. Let's plan a time, you and I, without the kids, to sit down and talk about what I learned." Okay. And when you talk with her, you
Yeah,
say, I learned such and such. Now, to be clear, I don't want a divorce. To be clear, I want us to take time and work on this together. And no matter what we need to do to help you feel safe, as long as we don't get divorced and don't break up the marriage, don't break up our family, I'm happy to do whatever it takes. As long as I'm in the house, there's only so much that I'm willing to do. I want to stay in the house. But barring that, I want to do everything I can to help you feel safe so we have time and to work on this together. I don't want a divorce, but if this is something that you really want, this is what the process looks like. We talk about the finances this way, we talk about the kids' schedule this way. I don't want this, but this would be the path if this is something that you really want. That's how you would talk about it.
yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. I hear you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good. So yeah, again, so for sake of time, write to me. Anyone, if you guys have questions, email me, post in the forum. That's a really good question, Tyler. I appreciate it. Yeah. Okay, real fast. If you're watching this on YouTube and you haven't subscribed, hit subscribe. We've got free invites to these calls. Go to this link. If you want to check out our other stuff, talk about coaching, our free book, go to these links, right? Check out our website, greatmenmovemountains.com. And really quickly, and then we'll get a closing thoughts from Cynthia here today. Good pressure versus bad pressure over the holidays. Relationships have inherent pressure. Her feeling safety is the key, but not violating your own integrity, not violating your own boundaries. And one of your boundaries for most men is to stay in the house. Okay, so the hill you're willing to die on, for instance, is to stay in the house so you can be around your kids. It's less expensive financially. You have exposure to one another. Just because she wants something doesn't mean you have to give it to her. Just because she wants you to move out doesn't mean you have to do it. And don't comply just because she's nice when you're a doormat and you do what she says. You have to stand up for yourself and learn your rights. That's what we're talking about too, right? So inherent pressure, but safety is the key. Being needy, trying to do things to get a result from her is not good. That's bad pressure. But inviting, often infrequent invitation, is good. Inviting her to talk about the attorney, inviting her to talk about the kids, inviting her to share what's on her heart, what's on her soul, right? Inviting her to talk about Christmas presents together and wrapping Christmas presents together. Often infrequent invitation is good. And number three, mostly shut up and work on yourself. Okay. Mostly this is about less talking, more listening, more open heart, not trying to fix her and working on yourself. And often men ask, well, how long do I work on myself? The general guideline is 1 month for every 1 year you've been together. So don't expect drastic change. Don't expect this to be a quick process. How long do you want to invest in working on yourself? Generally, it's 1 month for every year you've been together. So 1 year, 2 years, 3 years for someone who's been together for 35 years. 3 years is not a long time compared to 35 years together. Or 10 months is not long compared to 10 years together. So don't blink. Keep doing this work for yourself. Hit the gym, talk with guys, read books, come ask questions, come on these calls, do this work for yourself, and don't expect massive change within that amount of time. Okay, that's a mouthful I wanted to get out. Ask us questions if you're watching on YouTube, post in the comments. Cynthia, what's your thoughts about this call today? I cruised through a lot there at the end. What's your thoughts on where the men are and this idea of good pressure versus bad pressure to close us out, please?
Yeah, I think I'm very humbled because I feel in you in this space the masculine heart that only wants to protect and do good, doesn't want to cause harm in any way, even to someone who may be acting out in harmful ways, in painful ways. I feel the masculine honor in that. And I guess my invitation, and I'll say this is vulnerable because even I, as a woman, want to avoid feelings of pressure. It makes me think of the riverbank and river analogy, and that your masculinity is the solidness of those riverbanks, whether it's made of stone or deeply packed earth. And every time water feels the riverbank, especially the faster it's running, there's like rapids that happen. And that's okay for her to feel that. It's okay for her to feel her own rapids in this solidity that you have. It doesn't have to be perfect, but your energy, that heart energy, that grounded stone or hard packed earth is there for a good reason. And it's okay however the water reacts to that, because I fully feel the honor in who you are and what you stand for and the work that you do.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys. See you next time. Bye, guys. Ciao.
Thank you.